Hello, this is IP Stories by 4IP Council, a podcast about innovation and intellectual property. Join us and you'll hear about the journeys through invention, creation, and IP understanding of our guests.
The interview today is part of our special for the World Intellectual Property Day, IP and the SDGs, building our common future with innovation and creativity.
I'm Fernanda.
And I'm Marta, and today we are happy to welcome to our podcast Anja von der Ropp. Anja, thank you so much for coming to our podcast. We are thrilled to have you here. Before we start talking about WIPO and your position as Senior Program Coordinator on Climate Change and Food Security, we would like to know more about yourself and your background. What led you to where you are today?
Hi, Marta. Hi, Fernanda. Happy to be with you today. So I have a legal background, and after university and my 2 years of practice, I started actually out as a journalist, reporting on European health law and policy. And I remember that there was a report by the Nuffield Council on Bioethics on the patenting of DNA sequences. And that was really what got me interested in intellectual property. So I went first back to study at the College of Europe, focusing on IP, and I also took a course on environmental agreements. And then I went back to university to do research on patent pools. And then the opportunity came up at WIPO, which I had been following for some time and I was very interested in. And I started in the life sciences program and also did some work on bioethics there in the beginning with some WIPO magazine series, and we did a publication also. And I also worked a lot on traditional knowledge. And then the program changed to become the Global Challenges program, and I moved to focus entirely on climate change and the environment. And then I also started designing WIPO Green with colleagues and external partners, in particular the Japan Intellectual Property Association. And that initiative turned 10 years last year.
I wonder if our listeners know what patent pools are, because myself, I'm not sure if I if I know exactly what they are. So, would you mind explaining it just a little bit?
Yeah, no worries. So patent pool is when different patent owners come together and agree on the conditions on which sort of the assembled patents would be licensed to third parties. So very often we see that in the area of supporting standards, where you have multiple patents that support a certain standard, so that you actually be able to use the technology with the help of the pool, rather than going to each individual patent owner and negotiate with each of them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. And I love the fact that you started with in bioethics. It's yeah, I can imagine that it's something that it's very attractive.
Bioethics is indeed an interesting topic, because you see the patent system overall is a balance of interests between the innovator who has come up with a solution for something and those who might be the society overall, or those who might be interested in the product or in the technology. And so if that touches upon, for instance, health issues, that becomes even more important, to what extent the products are also available. So in that sense, it really distills the issues that are at the core of the patent system at a specific question.
So, you already mentioned what attracted you to intellectual property, and I was wondering, what's the link for you between intellectual property and innovation?
So for me, intellectual property is part of the innovation ecosystem, like the part of the toolbox that we have. And there are obviously other factors that are important for driving innovation. So there's the education and research system. There's the way in which different actors work together, like from the public sector and the private sector, there's also finance that comes in. And intellectual property then plays a role both for developing technology, or well, I'm coming from the technology end, so maybe you won't, rather than from the creativity side, but I think it works for both. Like it's protecting sort of the fruits of either innovation or creativity on the one end, so supporting to the development, but then also for dissemination because it helps structure the collaborations between different actors.
Okay, and I'm curious about the fact that you have been working for many years now at WIPO. So, what's the key to stay motivated and so active at your job?
Well, what helps me is that I like my job, and I work on something which is very rewarding. Sort of seeing how we can foster innovation and dissemination of green technology. And
Mhm.
then there are obviously always elements that are remain interesting, even if you're doing them sometimes, because I always come across new technologies, new solutions that are exciting. I meet interesting people from very diverse backgrounds. I just also like designing systems and thinking about how different components or pieces fit together.
Mhm.
So that's why it is not, it's not a struggle.
That's great. And what would you say it's what you enjoy the most about your job? What do you like the most?
Having that access to both changing or new solutions that I hadn't heard about, but then also the different people. I think that's both the things that I like most.
I believe we share the same passion about our positions because at 4IP, one of the things that I like the most as well is coming across different types of technology, groundbreaking technologies, and a lot of interesting people on the way, and having the opportunity to talk to them and get to know how the process was.
Well, and also what drives them, as you say. Well, and sometimes also the technologies might not need to be sophisticated, but they can be quite simple. But like
Yeah,
if they solve a problem, that's
Mhm.
exciting.
exactly.
So, Leanda, you obviously love about your job the fact that you get to work with me, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Of course, I get to work with Marta, the greatest thing ever.
I mean, you were forgetting the main thing.
It is true that you are a great colleague. I cannot deny that ever. So, we are asking all our guests on this special about their own definition of sustainability. What is yours?
Well, it's difficult if you work in that field for some time, sort of to detach yourself from the official definition, so to say. So obviously, there's an element of uh, an environmental dimension, social dimension, economic dimension in sustainability. But I guess it's about marrying those consideration together, or sort of bringing those considerations together, and then work within the boundaries or the planetary boundaries.
I think that's a great definition. And we are hearing a lot of trendy terms like green tech and sustainable innovation. Could you tell us what do they refer to?
Well, the definition that we base ourselves on when we talk about green tech is actually taking from the Rio Declaration, and that's the term used was environmentally sound technologies, and basically it's everything that is uses less resources and produces less waste than sort of technologies that are being replaced. But it that could be solutions in many different industries or different fields.
And I would like to ask you now about the policy challenges that must be faced regarding sustainability. Which ones are most important for you?
Well, I think, if we think about the definition of sustainability, it has these different elements that have to be brought together.
Mhm.
So while as in theory it's easy to say, well, you just have to consider all of that, and then you come to a solution. In practice, that is quite a challenge. But I think the
Mhm.
biggest challenge for me is that is actually not defining the goals, but implementing them, and sort of the struggle for what the best solution is when implementing the goals. And I think we see
Mhm.
that in many fields. If there are sort of economic forces that that have maybe interest in things that things remain the same. Sometimes it's not that easy to implement the changes. And another point is maybe also making sure that well, it doesn't leave anyone behind. Sort of that process, the transition process.
Could you tell us about WIPO Green and its goals and why is it necessary?
Why is it necessary? I mean, I can tell you, I can tell you why we are doing it. So, as a UN specialized agency, WIPO also has to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals, and coming from the end of or from the angle, the perspective of innovation and creativity, we want to make sure that we leverage innovation and creativity to provide solutions to the sustainable development goals, or sort of to tackling the challenges that our societies face. So that's the motivation behind it. And why I think it makes good sense, and it does make a contribution. So the as a UN specialized agency, WIPO has also an obligation to contribute to global challenges and the SDGs. And so, coming from the perspective of fostering innovation and creativity through an intellectual property system, we want to leverage that innovation and that creativity to contribute from that perspective, from that, so leveraging the solutions that are available and encouraging the development of new solutions. A lot of the solutions are already available. That's also something that different studies have shown. And it's also about making people aware of what exists and who offers that. So what we've done is that we created a platform to encourage the development and dissemination of green technology. And that has different elements. So one is informing about what technology is available, and who offers them, and facilitate also connection with those who offer. So one is the knowledge element, but one is bringing people together. It is also helping to source solutions. And it also has a component of supporting entrepreneurs, especially from developing countries where the support system might not be as elaborate as in some industrialized countries.
I have to say it really supports those who are curious as well, because I spent some time in that platform browsing around and looking for solutions and new technologies. So if you're curious, take a look.
Thank you. There's really a great wealth of information. And as I said, the first step that you have to go through for implementing a solution is to learn about what it can do and what its features are, and then sort of discussing with the person who offers it.
I mean, I can imagine that you must have seen so many successful businesses with IP protected sustainable innovation. This must be quite inspiring, right? I can imagine that it must be really amazing to see all these different entrepreneurs and projects.
It is. It is. discovering new areas or new fields, because then we either pick up a topic that we think is relevant and where we want to dig deeper, also to see what is available. But also it's driven by what we call needs. Like the starting point is someone, like you can source technologies either by looking what is available and contacting the provider, but you can also define your need and actively call the providers for solutions. And so looking at what these needs are and then thinking about what possible solutions are available is quite interesting. And then you come across also some limitations of some problems that don't have solutions, or that don't have solutions that are affordable
Yeah.
for those who seek them. But it's definitely very, very interesting.
And was this from the beginning, or is this database something that it's recent, or have you been building it little by little? How has it happened? Because I have also been playing with it, and I must say that there's so many projects. It makes you feel good, that so many people are putting their efforts on building these kind of businesses, and that they are successful as well.
I mean, the basis, or as in all the database developments, you start from some prototype, and so that has been there from the beginning in terms of the basic structure of demand and offer, and how you describe both technology and describe your needs. That has been there from the beginning, but there have been several rounds of upgrades and extended features over the years. So it's much more sophisticated than it had been in the beginning. And there was also a complete rebuild that we had done a couple of years ago. And so there's like, for instance, one feature that was added was that now there's also patent information that is imported from patent scope. So we have a combination of user uploads and patent entries, which helps you both to contextualize the solutions, but also to see what's out there. So if you have, for instance, uploaded something yourself, you can see similar technologies, which also might help you find either partners, but also watch what is on the market.
Exactly. Yeah, what's out already.
And there's also an automatic matchmaking functionality that has been added. So if you have uploaded a need, you can see like this, what the system suggests you in terms of available solutions, and the other way around. If you have a technology, you see both corresponding needs, but also similar technologies. So these are features that came later on.
I love it. This is like the Tinder of green technology.
Exactly.
It's great. And as this is something that is going to interest for sure a lot of our audience, of our listeners. And I would also like to ask you if you know of any incentives or funding for registering IP as green technology that perhaps our listeners would like to know about.
Funding, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, what I can think of is the schemes that several countries have implemented to accelerate patent applications. I mean, in some countries or it's not sector specific for green tech. In some, it's available to all, but some countries do have specifically for green technology the possibility to have faster patent application processes, and again, there are different features of um, how you define green tech in that case. So it could be either based on IPC classification, or it could be based in some other countries. It's based on sort of a self declaration or explanation of the patent applicant. Like, for instance, Brazil has such a system where that is specifically for green tech.
Okay, so a message for our listeners: you have to check what's happening in your country, what
Yeah.
incentives they offer, and you might get lucky if you are developing green technology.
So, what other projects or initiatives are you working on at WIPO Green?
Um, there are always different projects and new projects that we're developing. I mean, one of the things that we do is what we call acceleration projects, and these are again projects that are demand driven. So they focus on a specific area or a specific technology field, and either a country or region. And then we work with local partners to identify companies or organizations who are looking for technology solutions for certain environmental problems. And then we screen solutions and bring or put connect the providers and seekers of the technology. And that's something that we had done in a couple of countries. Like, for instance, there's work in Latin America on climate smart agriculture. But this year we are expanding considerably. So there's also in Central Asia a project on water. Um, some years ago, we had started working in China on technologies that are important for cities. So that's a type of project that we're doing. Then also initially, we were very much based on that technology sort of demand and supply idea. But recently we're also looking more into like what else is needed in order to have the technology deployed on the ground, and there finance plays a big role. So we have started mapping different finance organizations or entities who provide finance for either technology development, but also for technology deployment, for instance, as it results from those acceleration projects, so that we can work with entities who can help finance the deployment of technologies. And the last project that I wanted to mention is dealing with fashion. So it's about creating a collection of technologies that would make fashion more environmentally friendly.
All those projects sound amazing, and thank you for, putting the effort to do this and helping everyone to save the world, basically.
Yes, and it's very interesting because we know that fashion is one of the most
Maybe challenging.
There are a lot of environmental challenges in the fashion industry, and that has to do with water usage, with microplastics. So there are different fronts to tackle, or different problems to tackle. And what we had tried to do is to do a systematic sort of search, or a broad search on what is currently available and
Mhm.
emerging in terms of solutions for the fashion industry.
Is there any final message you would like to disseminate on our podcast for entrepreneurs or inventors?
So I'm often impressed by the entrepreneurs and their energy and how they juggle so many different priorities. So kudos to the impressive work. Some things that I observe often in our work, for instance, when we do our IP management clinics, which help entrepreneurs with their IP management strategies, is that the there's some apprehension when it comes to IP, especially those who are not very familiar with it. So just a message to say that it's doable. Just get started somewhere, and then you can improve along the lines. Also, the IP strategy needs to be aligned with the business strategy. So if you don't have your business strategy right, then also the IP strategy cannot support it. So the IP strategy isn't something that is an end in itself, but it's really something that should support your business strategy. And then more broadly going forward, I think there's a growing demand in green tech. So if you have solutions that could make a contribution, go for it. And I think the market data shows that there will be a need for that.
And do you have any final thoughts or any other type of message that you would like to share before we go?
I believe that technology-wise, a lot of solutions are already available. And studies also show that we have what we need to reach our medium-term goals. So we shouldn't wait for future innovation in these fields, but focus on implementing what we have and make sure that it's available in the parts of the world where it's needed. And then be strategic about future innovation and focus on those areas where we don't have the solutions yet, like, for instance, the hard to abate sectors. So these are really my final thoughts, but I could go on longer, but I think we're running out of time here.
Great. Thank you so much, Anja. It was great to have you here with us today and have this great chat with you.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Anja.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to IP Stories by 4IP Council. Visit our website on 4ipcouncil.eu to find out more and check out the links mentioned during this episode. If you liked it, remember to share and subscribe.